Hey, it's Matt, and welcome back to Mix Series. In the last video, we put the finishing touches on our mix, and hopefully this series is giving you some basic fundamental knowledge of live sound. In this final video of the series, I want to talk about something that is probably the most important thing you can understand as an audio engineer, and that is source tone. Let me go ahead and save you a lot of pain and heartache, or maybe, to be honest, the opposite. You can't fix bad source tone in the mix. A poorly tuned drum kit will never sound as good as if it were properly tuned. Now, obviously, there are things that we can do as engineers to mitigate or lessen the impact of poor source tone, but ultimately, nothing will ever beat just getting it right at the source. As an engineer, a big part of our job is to pay attention to what you're capturing and fix issues before they ever hit the console. Now, here's why I think this conversation is really important. Mic choice and placement, it's really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to source tone. You can capture something really well, but it doesn't really matter if the source never sounded good to begin with. Music is an incredibly personal creative expression, and each member of the band has spent countless hours learning how to play their instruments to the best of their ability. And it really does take a high level of maturity to be able to give and take criticism in a productive way. This, however, is something that I think is critical once you begin using your talents in a collaborative space like a worship band. Worship musicians are usually coming from many different backgrounds and have different levels of experience playing worship music. I've worked with many great musicians that are incredibly talented that really struggle when it comes time to play together in a worship band. Many times they tend to overplay or misunderstand where their instrument fits in with the rest of the mix. A key thing for worship musicians to understand is that playing or singing by yourself is a totally different skill set from playing or singing in a band, and even more so, I think, with a worship band. I found that almost every tonal decision that worship producers make is to make space for the vocal to shine. From guitar tone to snare tone to keyboard patches, it all sounds the way it does for a reason. The more you understand the why behind these decisions, the more empowered you'll be to get creative with the parts and make the song your own. I think that a lot of engineers are far too passive about source tone and just work with an "it is what it is" mindset. This mindset, I think, is really dangerous because as your skills begin to improve behind the console, you fail to improve your skills in front of the console. So what do I mean by this? When I say in front of the console, I mean getting out from behind the console and going to talk to your worship band. Ultimately, you're the only person that is able to hear how the mix is coming together. A musician on the stage might hear their tone in their ears and think, "Man, that sounds great," when in reality, it's just not working in context. A big part of your job is communicating with the band and letting them know when something isn't working. Now, I'm also not naive, and I know that every band has their own dynamics when it comes to authority lines and all of that. So you might not currently have the authority to speak into the band in this way, and you may have to fight for that kind of culture, but I think that it's really worth it in the long run. Here's some tips for building up the relationship between you and the band. Number 1, have a good attitude, stay positive, and just be a good hang. If your vibes are off, nobody's going to want to talk to you. For introverts, our natural tendency is to avoid conversation unless it's absolutely necessary. But it's important to make small steps towards breaking this habit. Remember that you are a valuable member of the band, even if the culture doesn't currently reflect that. Number 2, talk to your worship leader or MD about approved ways that you can provide feedback. Going out of your way to take the wishes of your leadership team into consideration will build trust between the two of you. You might suggest a weekly debrief with yourself and the MD to discuss opportunities for the band to improve their source tones. Doing this before or after rehearsal removes that in-the-moment pressure that can tend to lead to negative interactions. Productive conversations are the goal, and negative interactions don't help, so just avoid those situations. Number 3, be extremely competent and incredibly humble. You shouldn't speak into something that you don't understand, and even if you do know why something sounds off, you should present it in a way that allows the musician to make that connection on their own. Address individuals privately and don't make a scene. Kindness goes a long way, and the band will be a lot more receptive to feedback when you're able to present it with kindness. And finally, number 4, be open to feedback on your mix. Most of the time, I find that even if the feedback I receive on a mix isn't totally accurate, there's probably still something that they're hearing that I need to address. Sometimes it'll be something you don't have control over, but sometimes it'll be a personal preference. The more you show that you take feedback seriously, the more they will trust you and therefore your feedback. So that's it for this series, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully now you have a better understanding of the basics of live audio. Let me know what you thought about this series in the comments, and don't be afraid to reach out to me directly. I'll see you guys next time.